Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of our full summit. I am Norma Hollis. I'm your host for this session, and we have a phenomenal presenter today, Rich Litvin. And his title of the program, which you're listening to, is Coaching an Extraordinary Top Performer. We're going to learn quite a bit about that today from Rich. So we invite you to settle in, be present, and allow yourself time to learn, and be sure and take notes. This is a 90-minute session, and feel free to ask any questions. There is a question box on the right-hand side of your screen, and I'm going to be here to field those questions and share them with Rich when it's time. Now, after this session, about 30 minutes after this session, we're going to be introducing the Implementation Mastery Program. And that's going to be something that's going to allow you to go deeper. We'd love for you to join us and to lock in the learnings. I'll be putting the link in the chat box for that soon. It's also a chance for you to connect with other coaches, share your insights, and actually have even more a deep dive into the content that Rich is going to be sharing with you. You can meet other coaches in that, share your insights, and it's going to be very valuable for you. So look for that link shortly. Now, we want to invite you to also join us on the community of coaches for the full summit, and that's going to be on Facebook. I'll put that link also in the question box or the chat box shortly. And I encourage you, when you see that, to click the link and register, because you have to be approved, you have to be brought into that, and our team is waiting for you to do that so that they can make sure that you join that. And being on the Facebook program is a great way to share your aha moments, to share nuggets, to meet other coaches, to introduce yourself when you do join, share what type of coach you are and what you're looking for in these summits. We look forward to connecting with you further on Facebook and seeing you on the Implementation Mastery programs as well. So let's get started for this great 90-minute session. Your speaker is Rich Litvin. He runs a boutique advisory firm for world leaders and thought leaders. He's based both in Los Angeles and London. He uses the methodology of deep coaching. It is customized, and in the European, I guess, word is bespoke. That's a new word I've learned, and essentially it means for us in America, customized. It's not time-based. It's based on the individual and what their individual needs are. He's an expert at taking high achievers into the greatest levels of success. Ultra successful people, people who you would assume don't even need a coach, are the ones who call Rich. His clients include people like Olympic athletes, presidential candidates, Hollywood film directors, special forces operatives, and serial entrepreneurs. He's the founder of 4PC, a community of the top 4% of coaches and entrepreneurs. Members of this extraordinary group include 7-figure business owners, a consultant to the White House, a coach to leaders at the World Bank, and the CEO of a wolf sanctuary. His background is quite broad. A thought leader in the coaching world, Rich is the author of the highly acclaimed book, The Prosperous Coach. He's also the founder of the Confident Woman Salon and the High Achieving Introvert Project. And he's a member of the Association of Transformational Leaders. Rich has lived and worked in 8 countries and on 4 continents. His wife, Monique, is an award-winning singer-songwriter, and they are the proud parents of 2 little boys. And he still gets nervous walking into a party. So for more about Rich, we invite you to go to his website. He has 2 of them. One of them is richlitvin.com. That's RICHLITVIN.com. And also 4pc.expert. Rich, we invite you to share your information. We're excited to listen to you today. The floor is yours.
Hey Norma, thank you so much. Thanks for the intro, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you during the conversation today. And this isn't a seminar about information. This is about transformation, quite literally, because I wanted to do a coaching masterclass. It's the edgiest thing I could do, because coaching live when people are listening in, who knows where it's going to go. But for me, we can talk all day about coaching. Coaching is what happens when 2 people get in a room together and they begin a conversation, and you never quite know where it's going to go. And so that's how I want to play today. And I've invited somebody I know who is an extraordinary top performer to have a coaching conversation with me and literally see where we go. Neither of us know what's going to happen in this conversation. So let me set some parameters for the conversation. I would love it if we have one of those magic aha moments and everybody says, wow. But that sometimes happens in coaching and it sometimes doesn't. For me, when I'm working with a top performer, what's actually more important than a wow is the sound, Because the sound, means somebody's wheels are turning. And if somebody's wheels are turning and the person you're working with is someone who's a real high achiever, you know something magical is going to occur. You don't know when it's going to happen, nor do they, but you've got them thinking differently. And that's the way I play when I coach. Let me introduce the person I'm going to coach so we can start a conversation, but I'll say a bit more about what that means in a moment. So, hi, Barry.
Hey, Rich. Thank you, and hey, everybody.
So Barry, let's leave everybody to one side for a minute. Let's just you and me get into a conversation, almost like we're drawing a bubble around the two of us,
Sure.
so we can actually drop into really being with one another and connecting. So Barry Friedman, to use your full name, can you put humility to one side, and can you tell me who you are in the world, what you've done in the world? Give me a sense of who are you, Barry?
Let's see, 54-year-old. I've been married 30 years. I have a 14-year-old son who's the joy of my life. My wife and I decided after 15 years we should try that. And it's been amazing. On the professional side, 4-time world juggling champion, 6-time TED presenter. I've got to speak on the main stage at the TED conference 6 times. And really without ever having invented or cured anything at all, which is unusual. But Chris Anderson introduced my partner and I as 2 guys who have brought more laughter and joy to TED than any other speakers combined. So that was big. We have this wonderful place at TED where we get to have some fun with the audience and make them laugh and think. And that's beautiful. I'm one half of a team called the Raspyni Brothers, Raspyni. That's a comedy and juggling act. My partner and I have been together since 1982, 34 years. And geez, it starts to sound like I like long-term relationships when I talk about my wife and partner back-to-back like that. Yeah, and I've made a life out of doing something I love, and it's one quick thing. I toured all over the world as an opening act for everyone from Robin Williams to Patti LaBelle to Dean Martin to anybody else in the late 80s and all of the 90s. Focused exclusively on corporate entertainment, sales meetings, product launches, award ceremonies, mergers, incentive trips. Large-scale corporations have brought me all over the world to entertain at their events. That's been an amazing part of my journey. In 2007, I was asking, my son had just turned 5, and I said, how do I spend more time? I want to spend more time with my son. And as we always get what we ask for when it's authentic and when it's coming from the heart. And later that day, I was thrown off my mountain bike and shattered my collarbone and couldn't move my right side of my body for about a month. And then my right hand was, after surgery, my right hand was messed up. And it was about 6 months before I could juggle again. So, well, Rich, I wasn't specific enough. I did spend those 6 months with my son, I'll tell you that.
Be careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah, and it's great. I'm convinced that every single thing I've asked for in my life I've gotten, and it's never once come in a package that I imagined it would come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first, thank you. Thank you for really hearing me and putting humility to one side and really owning what an extraordinary man you are. I'm very honored to be able to get in this conversation with you today and see where we go. So just want to acknowledge you for that, Barry. Really powerful.
Bet.
The way I describe the way I coach is that my clients are the kind of people who don't need a coach. And if anyone's listening right now, you probably get, this is a man who doesn't need a coach. But it's really fun to have a conversation with someone who doesn't need a coach. Because there's a difference between needing a coach and wanting a coach, or wanting a coaching conversation. And you said yes when I made the offer to you, so I'd like to play. Here's the context I want to give you, Barry. I was talking to a client yesterday, and she came on the call and she said, you know what, Rich, I'm not sure if we should still be coaching together. I'm not sure what to even bring to this session. I don't know what to talk about. I spoke to my friends before the call and I explained to them what was going on for me. We've been working together for 4 months so far. And she said, my friends pointed out to me that we'd had a conversation in our third week of coaching together. And the insight she had in that conversation, it looks like it'll generate her $1 million from that one single conversation. She said, my friends did point out I may have got my money's worth already, but I don't know what to bring. We've got all these sessions. We're going all the way to October, and I have no idea what to talk about. Mm-hmm. So I laughed because it had already dawned on me that she might well have got her money's worth from that third session we had. But I said to her, would you be willing to trust the process? Because this is how I coach. I coach around insight, and a single insight can have a massive impact. I also coach around the 4% rule. And how the 4% rule works is this. It comes from a book by Stephen Kotler, who studied high-performing athletes, the kind of people who jump off a cliff in a wingsuit. It's literally life or death. Yeah. Sometimes when we're on stage, right, or even coaching a client, it can feel like life or death, but these guys, it really is. And what they discovered in their research is the only way to be a top performer in those kind of fields, extreme sports, to be a top performer, to keep pushing yourself to go beyond your limits and get better and better, but not die, literally, was to only push yourself 4%. For most people on the planet, 4% is actually too big. Not everyone's a high performer, right? But for people who are high performers, it's too small. We're constantly pushing ourselves to go 20, 30, 40% bigger than we're going right now. So one of the premises I have when I come into a conversation with a top performer is, I'm looking for the 4% shift. I'm looking for that tiny shift that's going to have a huge impact. And that's why I can breathe and relax in this conversation, Barry. I don't have to know where we're going to go. I'm just looking for that tiny shift in the direction you're looking, the tiny shift in the impact you're having, because the ripple effect of that is exponential.
Yes, yes.
And so let me invite you to begin a conversation. What would it be valuable for you to talk about today?
Yeah, well, let me just set a bit of context as well, and maybe this will bring up something more for you where we can go to. I think it was fall of 2004. Someone had said, let me back up a little bit so this context makes sense. When I had broken my collarbone and had the surgery and had that repaired and couldn't move, I was talking to my wife and said, what if I could never juggle again? What if this part of my life is over? Man, it's hard to say. What if this part's over? What am I good at? What could I possibly do for another 40 years to justify being here and to support being here? And she had a great line. She said, you're really good at selling a juggling act for a lot of money. And I was like, wow, what a sentence. That reflection was amazing. Certainly something that is historically the material of birthday parties and, out in the sun at county fairs. I had somehow managed for 25 plus years to be at the top resorts for Fortune 100 companies. So that got me thinking about, well, maybe there's other entertainers who would want to learn that. So I began some different programs of doing group coaching and just online programs of teaching entertainers about the business side of show business. And then I started doing group coaching. And then somewhere in that, somebody said to me, have you ever taken on private coaching clients? And this came about 2 weeks after someone said to me, you should read this book called The Prosperous Coach by Rich Litvin and Stephen Chandler. And I had never really read a book on coaching. I had been doing these group coaching sessions for a while. So I read that book and I realized, oh my gosh, if what they're saying in this book is possible, I could really get what I originally asked for when I said, how do I spend more time at home? How do I not live on the road 120 days a year in airplanes and hotels? So I did what anyone smart would do when they finish a book that good. I just went back to page 1 and read it all over again just to make sure that I had gotten it. And then I started applying it. So what's happened, basically, Rich, the context I want to set for that when you say, what would be valuable to talk about is that book has transformed so many lives I can't even imagine right now, from my private coaching clients to how I've been running my group coaching clients. And then my own life too. the amount of income. After a couple of years of doing this, I'm really just about replacing what was considered one of the highest incomes to be made as a live entertainer who wasn't, quote unquote famous, out in the world in magazines every day. I was making a crazy living and having a 100% anonymous life, which was, to me, was the best. I didn't need to be recognized everywhere I went, but it was fantastic. So what I haven't done in the last 2 years is I haven't really unhooked from the work enough to truly enjoy the success that I've created. And I think what would make this remarkable is if I could have that 4%, that tiny shift, to expand my capacity to feel the success that I've created so that I can breed more of it. Does that make sense?
Oh, not only does it make sense, I feel it in my own body. It's one of the things we do as top performers. I'm writing my next book right now, and I thought it was going to be called I Don't Need Help. It's actually going to be one of the chapters in the book. But that was my life for so long. I could never switch off. Because I could always do everything so much better than everybody else. I wouldn't accept help. I was continually going. I never stopped. Even now, I find it so hard to stop. And what makes it particularly hard, it's counterintuitive, right? Or people don't realize this. It's that we both have jobs that we absolutely love.
Yeah.
And for me, in my entire life, I've had a job where I'm giving to and serving other people, which feeds me.
Yeah.
So I don't take time for myself.
Yep. Yeah, that's what came up when you said, what would you like to talk about? It's just I don't know if I'm stepping back enough. I don't know if I have the capacity to even hold what I've done. I mean, even just talking about myself in the introduction, there's a part of my brain that says, as I check off the things I talked about, luck, 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 you'll get found out one day, all this old stuff. So yeah, it sneaks in. So boy, the capacity to feel the success that I've created, because I know that'll allow me to breed more success and make a bigger impact in the world. I'm doing really well right now without even really feeling it, without really even just taking the time to step back, unhooking enough from the work. Yeah, I have all the time in the world now. I mean, I think I'll do 5 shows this year, and I've already done 3 of them. So I got some more time. Yeah, I have the time I asked for to be with my family, to be home and work at home. So yeah, it's a miracle. One other thing. I mean, I haven't really even acknowledged to myself that since 1982, for me to make a living, to support my family, and granted, to grow a very successful entertainment act to a big level and get a lot of international attention, every single thing I did that made money required me getting on an airplane, throwing sharp knives in the air, writing comedy for for corporate events, really writing customized routines for them. And now I've replaced that income and I never get on an airplane. I mean, if someone would have told me that 2 years ago, I would have laughed them off. It didn't exist. So yeah, what's it feel like for me to even breathe that in and take that in, that I've replaced what seemed like an impossible income, exactly how, on my terms, without flying around the world. Oof. Yeah, feels amazing.
I'm quiet for a reason. I'm quiet to let that sink in. One of the things about powerful coaching is that often less is more. Sometimes I'll be speaking to you, Barry, sometimes speaking to the people listening. Sometimes saying less is so much more powerful. As that sinks in, what happens as you take that in, Barry?
I see a lot of brightness around me. My mouth is drying up. My heartbeat is picking up like crazy right now. I feel a big smile. I mean, I really feel this internal smile happening, and then there's this other voice inside of me that says, yeah, and what's next, and what's next? You know, what's the next thing to create? And that's always been my way. I mean, one of the great metaphors about juggling is juggling doesn't care about the last throw; it only cares about the next throw.
Mm. Yeah, talk about being in the moment. There's no way you can do what you do without being totally present, right?
Oh, yeah. And I could think for a second in the middle of a big pattern, oh my gosh, that was a great catch. Oh, shit. And then before I even acknowledge that, I've made 3 more throws. You
Yeah.
know, so yeah. And I think there's some piece of that in my life that I haven't taken the opportunity to just stop the pattern and say, oh my gosh. And I'm reflected back on this by my wife a lot. I mean, she will really say, look what we've done, look what you've done. Um, and I'm real quick to deflect it. I'm real quick to say I couldn't do it without you. I couldn't do it without this book that I read, this Prosperous Coach book, that put these ideas in my head. And I am quick to deflect. So there's work for me to just put on those racing horse blinders and look in a mirror, probably.
Well, it's one of the things that I see in extraordinary top performers, right? There's this secret guilty feeling on the inside that we're surrounded by people acknowledging us for what we've accomplished. And on the inside, the secret is it doesn't feel we've ever had to work that hard.
Yeah. Boy, is that the case. Is that the case? I don't feel like it. I mean, I feel like, on the contrary, not to be a contrarian, but I will just say juggling, when I learned to do it when I was 15, it was the first time in 15 years that I ever felt like I had a reason to be on the planet. I had a terrible childhood filled with different types of abuse, physical, mental, emotional, regional, bullying. And at this camp one day, a guy taught me to juggle, and I just, me and this other guy in the class did this little show at the end of the camp, and people were laughing and applauding, and I said, that's it. I'll never go back to feeling this way again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
What's the emotion? Tell me what's going on.
Mm-hmm. It's that it points to that what you said before, that I don't feel like I've had to work at it. That even that was handed to me. Even that was luck, that I happened to choose going to take this silly juggling class by the pool instead of what the rest of the camp chose, to go do arts and crafts. I just said, oh, I'll go try the juggling class. And that was 40, just short of 40 years ago. And haven't quite put those balls down yet. But it felt like even that was something I didn't have to work that hard at.
For me, though, what's interesting is when I had that insight working with top performers, that I said a lot, and my people go, oh my God, yes. Because it is this secret guilty feeling. Like we're being acknowledged by all these people around us for how amazing whatever it is we're creating, and it doesn't feel we have to work that hard.
Right.
The flip side to it over this side is that it's because we're working in our zone of genius. It's because we're doing that thing that comes so naturally and easy to us that we love what we do. It has a big impact. People love watching what we do or being with what we do. We just have this feeling that we feel guilty about it. And because it's our zone of genius, we get better and better at it, right? My wife is a jazz singer. She would come home from a gig and I'd say, how did the gig go? And she'd say, it was terrible. Until I realized I was asking the wrong question. I had to ask her, oh, babe, what did they think of the gig? And she said, I loved it. And when she said it was terrible, what she meant is she got a note wrong here. She got the word wrong here. Yeah. And because she's a top performer, she pushes herself to get better and better all the time, and she's constantly improving.
Yeah.
And so, without a doubt, luck has played a part in all of our lives. I mean, we were lucky we were born. We were not born in the Sudan, in the middle of the conflict. We were lucky we were born in whatever it was, 68 for me. I'm not sure what it was for you. You've got a few years on me.
Yeah.
Whatever year we were born, and not 100 years earlier, right? So there's going to be elements of luck to everybody's story, but it's what we do with those situations.
Yeah.
There's lucky moments in every moment of every day. You made decisions that took you on a path. that took you on the next path and the next path, the next step and the next step.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. And I just think the prompt here today to, what's coming up when I say that is there's this word luck in the background. And maybe I'm holding that in a way that doesn't feel like it's loaded with gratitude. So that's something for me to really acknowledge is, yeah, there's luck and it's wonderful and I'm thankful for it. And what I've done with it, is really powerful too.
Yeah, it is. And I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to talk to Norma for a second and then continue in a second, Barry.
Yeah, I'm here.
So Norma, I want to invite some questions from people who are listening. And because I'm so present with Barry, it's a little hard for me to hold both right now. And so I have a question for you, which is either do you have a question that's coming up for you that we could put out to the group? Or if I come back to you in 5 minutes, could you think of something that might be useful or valuable for people to think about that I can then respond to in a few minutes' time?
Yeah, give me a few minutes. I wasn't expecting that, so give me a few minutes to think about that.
No problem. No pressure. You could even ask a question of me that I can turn into a question. But I'm realizing I'm trying to hold two roles, and I want to be really present with Barry because that's where everything can really shift. We were talking earlier about what does it mean to be a top performer, and maybe it's a question like that. But maybe there's something that comes up as you're present to me doing the coaching. And so maybe in 5 minutes I'll come back to you, and we'll put a question out to everyone who's listening.
Well, one thing I will say is that I loved how you asked Barry to let go of humility, because so often I know when people ask me what I do and what have you, I'm always lowering myself in terms of the standards, in terms of the successes that I've had. Mm-hmm. So is that something that we do normally, or is there a way to not feel like you're boasting or bragging when you speak about what you do and what your success has been?
It's not uncommon. One of the reasons I created 4PC, this group of extraordinary leaders, is I said to people as they come into the group, your job is to put humility to one side. Your job is to really show off everything that you're up to right now. One of the problems of being a really top performer in whatever area of your life it might be is that you get to a place where you can't really share your successes with people. Even your struggles. Sometimes there's a place where I'll give an example of someone in the group in 4PC. They came in recently and said they had a $300,000 tax bill. There was nobody they could share that with. Who do they share that with? That's more money than many of their friends ever made, and they had to pay it in taxes. It was a problem, but a quality problem if you like, but you don't want a place where you share something that's going on for you and people say, oh, I wish I had your problems. Sometimes you want a place where you can share your problems and people can go, oh yeah, I can see why that's a challenge for you right now, and can be with you. So putting humility to one side, being able to put your successes and your struggles out in a way in a community where people can really feel you can be difficult for many of us.
And is that a way to be a better coach, you think?
I think it's valuable for everyone to have a place where they're. One of the things I've seen that top performers do that really take them beyond the level they're at right now is they find a way to surround themselves with an extraordinary community of people. That's what really helps us to go to the next level. And it doesn't matter whether that's a mastermind group or an extraordinary group of friends, but as you rise in the levels of successes, not only in business but also in life, sometimes it becomes hard to let go of older members of your community. But as you do so, if you let some people go, and it doesn't mean formally, it doesn't mean having arguments with people, but letting people go creates the space for new opportunities, new connections. And that's what I've seen really has a big impact on many of us.
Would you like a couple of questions that have come in?
Yeah.
One is, when working with top performers, is there ever a shift in the definition of their success or the way they define it?
Oh, beautiful question. So that's exactly what we're working on right now, right, Barry? So I'm going to dive into this question with Barry right now.
Yeah.
Because this is exactly what we're looking for. It's exactly what happens with top performers. There becomes a shift in your definition of what success means. Or you find you have success in one area of your life, but it's missing somewhere else. Your relationship, your children, family. So what comes up when you hear that, Barry? Where should we go from this place?
Yeah, what comes up is kind of the great unknown. I don't know what I'm missing because I don't have it, but there's a hallucination that it's the same as when I was on the road all the time, though, and I asked for, my son was turning 5, and I was like, how do I just spend more time here and less time away when I'm so in demand as a performer and getting, all these offers, delicious offers, well-paying offers, to go to places like, Bali and uh, crazy fun places around the world, Monaco and Las Vegas. Ugh. But, you know, I don't know what I don't know, so.
Great. So this is a perfect place to continue the conversation, because when we coach our clients, they come in with they know what they know, they also know what they don't know, but it's the area where we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
We're at the limits of where we can possibly see into our future. That's where I love to work with clients.
That's where I'm at, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that looks like. I have some ideas, but I don't know. Yeah.
If we get off this call and in 3 years you call me back out of the blue, I'm not expecting it, I get a phone call, it's 2019. That's hard for me to imagine because I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, so I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, which sounds crazy to me. You call me up in 3 years' time and you say, oh my God, Rich, I've got to tell you about my life, my business, my family, my relationships. There was something happened in our call that shifted everything. Maybe a couple of weeks later, it already began to show, but 3 years later, let me tell you what life is like right now. Is there something you'd be telling me that would have your blood be singing at the thought of being alive?
Yeah, gosh, it would have to be singing louder because I tell you, right now, it's right now my blood's singing so damn alive right now. I would say that I don't have any of those stories that I originally told you I had when we met, that I wasn't smart enough to do any of the stuff I do. I mean, that's a big story in my life. College was 2 of the worst weeks of my life, and I have always held that as a story that's a limiter for me. And I can still go back to it sometimes, that I don't have all the proper education I need to be doing what I want to do. So I would tell you, yeah, that's gone, man. I let that go on that phone call. I would tell you that this kid who I have a picture on my desk here of him in diapers when he was a baby is graduating high school next year. And I just was at his middle school graduation the other day, and amazing how fast it all goes. So I would tell you that I finally had the balls, the nerve, the faith in myself to reach out and coach people, and now I'm coaching people who aren't entertainers, and I'm using the same skills I used to coach entertainers to TED Talks, to quadrupling their fees. Now I'm doing it for doctors and people who have bigger dreams, but they aren't comedians and magicians. So I would tell you that I've stepped into that world, and it's unbelievable. And I tell you that I live in Hawaii because I've always wanted to live in Hawaii. So, yeah, those are a handful of things I tell you in 3 years.
What's going on in your body right now?
Heart rate even faster, standing up taller. Yeah, it feels. I feel myself being there. Actually, I don't. It feels like what I just said. I was channeling from some old scripts I had. It wasn't even really real right now, but those are voices that sneak in when I'm looking for excuses.
Yeah.
So
let's play, because there's a place where we can go deeper than we've gone so far. Michael Neal tells a lovely story about a coach. A client comes in to see the coach, and he says, I'm a carpenter, can you help me with my business? And the coach says, sure. You need a social media strategy, you need a PR person, we've got to do this for your business, you need to write a book. And within an hour, they've brainstormed all these strategies, and they're complete. The client is leaving. The coach says to the carpenter, oh, by the way, what's your name? And the client looks back at the coach and says, oh, my name's Jesus. And I love that as a metaphor for the work that we do, because it would be easy for me to jump in and say, great, so you want to coach these great people, you want to live in Hawaii, how do we make that happen?
Yeah.
And my sense is, without a shadow of a doubt, that's on its way.
Oof.
So,
Yeah.
so what happened then? What was that say?
That was I have this funny thing I think once in a while. I think, gosh, I want to be as cool as my son and my wife think that I am. And to hear you say, "Oh, that's on its way," it's like, oh, I want to be who Rich thinks I am right now. Yeah, that's what's up.
I was in a workshop once and somebody said, I want to be Rich Litvin. And I thought, I want to be Rich Litvin.
Yeah, right. I want to be.
Yeah, totally get it. Totally get it. And I'm going to play. So ride with me on this one. Let me take you down the road a little bit further. So I love the concept of what I call an impossible goal. For me, I've never really understood goals. I've always set them, though I used to, because I thought you're supposed to. Everyone says you're supposed to. And I'd end up writing stuff down on pieces of paper, and then months or years later, I'd find the piece of paper in a drawer somewhere, and I'd pull it out, and I'd achieved that goal. And then this one that I hadn't achieved, it turned out it didn't matter anyway. And I got the insight a few years back of helping clients and myself to take on impossible goals. And an impossible goal shifts everything, because it's not an I'll be happy when goal. An impossible goal takes you beyond that, to the place of you literally couldn't make it. I mean, look, you could make Hawaii happen, right? It might be challenging. You might not be quite sure, but you make it happen. Getting clients who are beyond the kind of people you've worked with before, there is ways to make that happen. Apparently, there's a book just on that very topic that you may have read.
Yep.
So that stuff is possible. Letting your stories go. We all know the work we can do to let go of limiting beliefs. So you might not know the how to, but there's a reality to the possibility of what you just put out. An impossible goal. So here's an impossible goal I'm living into right now. 2 years ago, I put it out into the world. Actually, no, that's not true. Let me own it for real. I came up with an impossible goal. And I didn't tell anybody, because I don't know how to say it out loud. It was too scary to actually say out loud.
Yeah.
And then I began to say it to a few clients, and they liked it. And then I began saying it out into the world, and things began to shift. And my impossible goal is I'm mobilizing $100 million to educate 1 million children. That felt outrageous when I began to say that out loud. Who the hell am I? How am I going to make that happen? Now, I was really clear. I wasn't fundraising. I wasn't trying to make that money on my own. I've got amazing connections, and it was going to be through my connections that would happen. But I had no idea about the how to. And then over time, I began to see what happened, that I'd helped one of my clients raise $3 million for his nonprofit. I'd helped Cynthia Kersey, who runs the Unstoppable Foundation. We raised the money to build 2 schools in Kenya at one of my events. I got a call out of the blue, inviting me to go to Liberia to run an empowerment event for 400 teachers. And I just said, yes, had to. I knew I had to. One of the members of 4PC is literally building a school right now for children who are dyslexic, because he was dyslexic and hated the traditional school system. And I began to see how it's happening already. I didn't have to know how. I started speaking into the world what I'm up to, and people said, how can I help you? What comes up as I talk about this concept of impossible goals for you?
That I'm already doing it. You know, that's what comes up for me. When one of my private coaching clients, right now he's changing the way doctors interact with patients around the world. And I didn't have that as one of my goals. I did have as one of my goals to work with people who wanted to do something bigger than they were currently doing. And this guy was doing a show. He was doing an act. And so once again, it goes to being careful what I ask for and really being specific and taking that in. Your thing. If you're not too specific about how much money you raise and how many kids you affect, it's already happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me more about what's the impact of what this doctor's doing?
in a system that, in America anyway, that's being cut to pieces. Insurance companies deciding how much doctors are paid, how they treat patients, basing doctors' reimbursement on 70% of their treatment and 30% of patient satisfaction. He's teaching doctors how to bring the fundamentals of show business into the exam room, the connection, the rapport we're able to build the second we walk onto a stage. He's a doctor, by the way, a world-class gastroenterologist. But yeah, to develop a keynote, he's developing this keynote, and as he talks to doctors, he's been invited already by his hospital. He's been a part of his hospital group to go speak at all these hospitals, and it's taken off. And he's showing doctors how to survive in this new system that's being cut to pieces. It's the equivalent of they're being reviewed like Uber drivers. It's remarkable. So he's showing them really what he's done for 50 years as a world-class magician ventriloquist, the elements of show business that can give patients, let him and the doctors that he's speaking to earn that 30% part that's done by patient satisfaction quickly, effectively, and in a way that is wonderfully authentic to them. So
take me down the other side of it, because what I get is the impact of bringing the literally the magic, but the magic of connection, of rapport, of fun, of intimacy into the room with the patient. What's the ripple effect? If he's going to impact hundreds, it sounds like thousands, maybe tens of thousands, maybe more. What's the impact of this on people's lives, Barry?
Oh, I beat that out of him in our sessions. We get to why are you even doing this? And it started out being so that the doctors enjoyed their job more. And I called him on that, and I said, I don't think that's the end of it. And we got to so that it's the patients can learn to the part that they take in their own healing by how they are treated at a doctor's office, how they talk about the experience of being treated, how they psychologically set themselves up to go back to an appointment. If the patient is hating it and fearing it, they carry that energy in. So, boy, it's a ripple that won't. It's a stone that'll cast a million ripples out. And even the patient's families. I mean, he teaches in his talks and workshops small ways that doctors can find out intimate details and give the patient, without taking any more of their time, any more of the doctor's time, find out the real details of what's going on, of what might be behind this, and recording those so that they can continue that conversation next time they walk into the exam room. And just small ways that performers know intimately to marry that to the standard white coat, sterile doctor visit. And it's pretty earth-shattering, really, the way it's playing out already.
And do you get that the leverage we have as coaches working with extraordinary clients? That's why I love to work with top performers. The leverage is enormous. I tell my wife sometimes, I don't want to be on Oprah, I want to coach Oprah. And it's a metaphor, because I don't know if Oprah even needs or wants a coach right now. But what I mean is, I'm not attached like so many coaches I meet who want to write books that are sold to millions of people or be on TV, be on Oprah. Yeah. Now, Monique's a jazz singer, performer, so she doesn't believe me. I love what I do one-on-one in a conversation like this, because I know if this conversation, if we get that 4% shift for you, all those other extraordinary clients who are coming, and the ripple effect is huge.
It's huge, and it goes to what I first said at the beginning. This, expanding my capacity to feel that, so that I can breed more success, and that's what I'm open to feeling right now. I mean, it's funny. It's just even getting a chance to play out and speak what's in my mind and my heart about this one person I'm working with. It's remarkable to think about. There's mothers on the East Coast. I'm up in Northern California, but there's mothers in the East Coast who go home and aren't scared, aren't talking about their doctor visit with trepidation, with fear, with shame, but instead maybe smiling and saying, I can't believe what happened today and what I can do. Yeah. and what the effect that has on the 10-year-old who will one day be at the doctor, her child who's listening. Yeah, that's bigger than life, man. That's that's big, big. And that's yeah, that's one client, and other ones I'm yeah, really pushing to go as big. And I tell you, my brain thinks, Rich, what if I get this message, this ability to help someone see their bigger vision in front of someone who doesn't know me first as a entertainment business coach. Can I be effective in that? And that's the little gremlin voice.
Well, just curious, do you know I used to be a high school teacher?
Yeah, I read in your book, sure.
So did you come into this conversation with this, oh, I mean, he's a high school teacher. Where are we going to go? What are we going to end up doing? He's a high school teacher. Or do you come into the conversation ready and willing to play, and then we go where we go? And even if you didn't trust me, it's on me to create that in the moment, right?
Yeah,
you
definitely.
Have a story that has you be, I'm just a juggler, just an entertainer.
Right, and I'm a guy who's done very well in the business side of it, and every entertainer in the world knows me, and would love somebody to know how I've created this success. So that's the pretense, that's the subtext I bring into my coaching when I'm talking with an entertainer, and I think, wow, what is it? What's my secret sauce? When I haven't done that,
But isn't that the secret sauce, right? Isn't it that in a world where anyone can be an entertainer and on a cruise ship juggling in a clown suit?
Yep.
In a world where anyone can be a coach, and most of them are making $50, $60 an hour, there are people who can play a different game. You were able to do that. Yeah.
I'm doing it with a handful of private clients right now at a fee that feels wonderful. It feels in alignment with who I want to be, and I want to trust myself. I want to feel the success that I step right over any excuse that's sitting between me and coaching an extraordinary person who's successful and really just has this fire inside of them that they don't want to wait one more day to take action on. That's who I love working with. I don't care if they are entertainers or aren't, or just have some dream. I know enough about the human animal and how we work, and I've stood with enough people developing big businesses and developed my own, and I'm fearless about challenging people. I mean, something I really got from reading your book and sitting at one of your workshops. It was like, what the hell? Why would there ever be a fear in doing this? The only thing that's going to happen is the person on the other end of my conversation is either going to go deeper or they're going to realize I'm not right for them, and both of those outcomes is a huge grand slam.
So here's the secret behind all of this. We're only ever coaching ourselves. When as coaches we start to get that clear on the kind of people we want to work with, I hear that you love to work with people who have a fire inside of them. Oh man, I love it. And I like when they already are hugely successful at something. I mean, I don't want to handhold. I don't want to babysit. I don't want to play psychologist and work with mommy and daddy issues. I don't want to. I want someone who knows how to dig in their heels and double down when it gets tough. And I know a story I carry about entertainers is we've all done that. We've all been told no. We've all been told there's better choices you could make. We've all done our version of running away and joining the circus. And I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed that part. And I see other people out in the world, and I'm having some conversations with people now who are just
super high achievers.
Yeah.
And I love, yeah, I love it. Does that say something about me? Does it say I don't want to look down? I don't want to, I don't know what I'm trying to say, of some judgmental word that doesn't feel good to come out, but that I don't want to babysit or, I don't know what it is. But
Well, I do the same. One of the reasons I have some criteria for the people I work with. I love to work with super successful people, high performers, people who have a bias for action, people who, one of the things about working with top performers is I have a client agreement where I call it virtually unlimited coaching. We have 3 sessions a month, but in the agreement is what I call virtually unlimited coaching. When you need extra support, you just tell me. I might not pick up when you call. I might get back to you in a day or so, but we'll put an extra call on the calendar if you need it. If we have time, we might go longer in a session. And the reason I can do that is the kind of people I filter for are the kind of people where actually it's usually me saying, do you want any more time? Can I give you any more support? I've had clients in 5 minutes into a session, they say, oh my God, I've got the insight, I'm off. And they want to run and put it into practice.
Yeah, you wrote about one of those in your book, and that was just, oh gosh, I always wanted to feel that, and then I did. I did. I saw, somebody told me I get it. I don't want to go work right now, and I let him go, and we just rescheduled another one for a few days later. So yeah, it was great. So cool.
Let me check in with Norma. I want to come back and look at some questions, see what everyone wants to know, and see where we might go, and then I'll come back to you and see where you are. Just let things just settle. You might listen to us with half an ear, but just see what shifts inside of you, and we'll come back and talk in a moment.
I'm going to lay down, and I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Hey, Norma.
Hi, Rich. I do have a question that's come up a few times that people want to know about, and they say that you talk about yourself more than people are used to talking about themselves in coaching. So how do you see that as a part of the conversation? Is that something that you do more with high-performing persons than you do with others?
Well, remember, there's an audience for the conversation today, so it's a little bit different to where I might go if it was just myself and Barry. And because I work with top performers, there's a reason I do that. It's me too. The reason I know that we carry this guilty secret that we're surrounded by people who admire us and acknowledge us for what we've achieved. On the inside, we feel kind of guilty because we haven't done very much. Is that I know that. So I use myself as one of those examples too. So it's a little bit unusual because I have an audience. I'm speaking slightly differently. I'm used to coaching with an audience present, and I do things slightly differently. That might be what people are picking up on. But some of it is simply where Barry chose to go today. I had no idea where we'd want to go, where he'd want to go today, and where he's going simply taps into something that I really get. It's part of who I am. So that might be part of it too.
Okay, I have another question for you, and let me find it. Okay, so they're noticing that Barry's actually enjoying the success. We could actually hear his voice and the changes going on within him in the conversation. Is this part of your coaching process and outcome? And coupled with that, when you do it like that, more in free flow, how do you manage time?
I'm managing time carefully right now because I'm aware we have a limit to the call. So I just keep an eye on the clock and see where we go. I also, with longer term clients, like I said earlier, I'm not looking for a wow. I'm looking for I'm looking for the insights where things begin to shift. Maybe the foundations on which their world is based begin to shift ever so slightly, begin to vibrate. It's like, oh, this looks like solid ground. Maybe it's not solid anymore. These stories that Barry came in with around what it means to be an entertainer, and already I'm seeing those shifts happen. So time is something we have to do, but keep an eye on the clock as we're working with somebody. But the shifts are really cool. He is absolutely enjoying himself. I'm feeling into him constantly. One of my biggest tools as a coach is my own body. I have some awareness of Barry, and I have some awareness of what's going on inside of me. When do I stand up? When do I sit down? When do I feel tension? Where am I feeling tight? And I'm putting my attention on the inside, as not as much as on the outside, but maybe 20% of my attention's on my inside.
Okay, let me give you another one.
Mm.
Let's see here. What are other patterns, characteristics of high performers that you've learned from research or personal experience?
This is the book that I'm writing right now, so this is fun for me. One of the factors I call white knight syndrome. So one of my clients right now is CEO of a big nonprofit, multi-million-dollar nonprofit, and he couldn't understand why his team were taking things on and handling stuff, why he was always handling crises. And one of my members of my team went along to visit and watch what happened. And what was happening is that his team were afraid. They didn't want to take action because he's the superhero in his company. Whenever something goes wrong, he swoops in and saves the day. And there's almost no point taking action because you know he's going to come in and solve the problem anyway. Why bother? Let's let him solve the problem first. White knight syndrome is an interesting one. It's where sometimes top performers look. Let me backtrack. Everything you've done to make you as successful as you are today is holding you back from your next level of success. What we're looking for is which of those areas are relevant for you. And so, white knight syndrome, I love. One of the chapters of my book is called The Problem with Millionaires. I was talking about this to a friend of mine who trains millionaires and billionaires in philanthropy, and he shared this concept with a billionaire, and the billionaire said, oh yeah, so the problem I see with all the millionaires I know is that they're not dreaming big enough. Well, it would take a billionaire to see that in a millionaire, right? Because they're surrounded by people who are admiring them for what they're achieving. And one of the challenges for us as high performers is we have all this admiration around us. We don't have people who are willing to say what we need to hear. They say often what we want to hear rather than what we need to hear. How's that, Norman? There's a couple of factors. The book I'm in the middle of writing right now, so lots of this is coming to be out later on in the year, but there's a couple of the qualities that challenge us as high performers.
Great. So there's a question that came in for Barry, and that's what's most important about the conversation for you so far?
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
I was laying on the ground just now, just kind of thinking about it and barely listening to you guys.
Well, so take a moment, and Norman, would you say the question again so Barry can just really receive it?
Certainly. For Barry, what's most important about the conversation for you so far?
There's been as I have been laying here, just letting it kind of wash over me, what's been happening is there's a realization that I haven't gotten good at anything in my life from 0 to 10. You know, it hasn't gone from I can't do that, especially in juggling and in business. I can't do this to at the end of the day, I can do this. And what's been important to me so far is, and I don't even know how it came out, I don't think Rich said this or I said it, is that maybe it was using the word capacity in my question, is the capacity, like when I'm filling a water bottle or something up to go on a bike ride, it fills up slowly. And what I've felt happen already in this call is that my capacity to feel successful is a work in progress. It's not going to happen by one sentence. It's not going to happen in one day. But I've opened the door and looked through it now. So, there's no unseeing what's been seen, right? And that's what it feels like right now. It's just that, yeah, as I said when I was naming some of the pieces before, that I was feeling like blocks. They didn't even feel real as I was saying them. They were things that I've felt as far as the education piece or not being able to work with people who aren't coming from an entertainment background. It just doesn't feel as real. It feels more like an old story than a current guideline. I hope that's clear. Just have my
Well,
eyes
let's
closed.
find out. Let's dive in a little bit deeper. I'm curious. I have a belief that we all have a sentence. So the word sentence has two meanings in the English language. It has a grammatical use when you write a sentence, and it also implies, could be used in the context of a present sentence.
Mm.
So I have a sentence. The sentence that has run me for so much of my life, Barry, are the words, "Who are you?" Or "Who am I?" Who am I to be doing that? Who are you to say this? Who are you to do that?
Wow.
What's the sentence for you?
There's this one that's coming to me, and I feel shy about saying it with an audience of hundreds of people, but I'll just say it because they aren't here. It's me and you. The sentence is, you'd be lucky to work with me. Yeah, that's the one.
What's going on? What's the impact of saying that out loud?
It just feels so true. Every coaching client I've had, everyone who's ever made it into one of my groups through the different hoops I make them jump through, I just see how lucky people are to be in this experience, whether it's a year-long program or a 10-week group coaching program or a one-on-one private for a year. It's nothing's ever the same, and they're lucky to be there. And that doesn't feel like anything I would have said an hour ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So,
it's interesting to me what happened is because I was using the term sentence to imply the challenges that come. My sentence, "Who am I?" is as it's driven me forward, but it's also held me back. And what you're talking about is the sentence that's going to free you.
yeah.
There's a flip side to it, though, I hear, because it takes me back to earlier on in our conversation, where this sensation of you're just being lucky at what. It's just there's been so much luck in your life that it hasn't felt good in some ways. And I just heard you do a reframe on that, just
Wow.
acknowledging that your clients will be lucky to work with you. What's the wow that you just got?
That's a great catch, just the connection of the word luck and how it played in earlier. And that came out of my mouth when I was thinking about you guys would be lucky to work with me. And I think it's a continuation of what we were talking earlier about luck. It's what do we do with it? Yeah, you got this opportunity now. What are you going to do with it? And some people step out of working at dusty Renaissance festivals and get their life together and start working at top-end corporate events. And some guys leave their medical practice and start doing keynote speeches for huge groups of doctors. And some don't choose to do anything with it and say, wow, that course was good, I guess, but nothing really changed for me. So I like that. I like the ownership part of luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12 years ago, I was fired from my job. I wrote about it in the book, and everyone sympathized with me. Everyone was just really sorry for me, apart from one of my friends, Barry, who, when I told him the story about what had happened, he said, "You lucky bastard." And those three words changed my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I look at this little piece of metal that's here on my desk always. It spent 6 months inside my collarbone, and when I look at it, sometimes it's the shish kebab skewer that held the shattered pieces together. I look at it sometimes and I think, man, that little fall seemed so bad at the time when I couldn't breathe and I couldn't move the right side of my body, and it's a miracle. It's a miracle. And I'm glad the guy I was biking with didn't say "you lucky bastard" at the time. I might have kicked him with my left foot, the one that still moved. Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
My sense is we're there, Barry.
You'd be lucky to work with me. I think it's an amazing caption to throw under this conversation, in my mind. Yeah, and it allows me to expand my capacity to feel success. I mean, Oh boy, try and wrap some words around the success I feel. Let me put it this way. When you said introduce yourself a bit at the beginning, it was really hard to bullet point off those things to the point that I even left out best-selling author. I speak about I've lived over 4 years without a single bite, a single drop of added sugar to my food. I lead people around the world in a 30-day challenge every month. It starts on the first of every month. That's a hugely successful business I've created. I mean, I just stopped. And now I feel like, yeah, why not, man? Expand the capacity and own other things I do. I coach my son on winning a USA mountain unicycle championship, and I don't ride mountain unicycles. So yeah, there's a lot there, and it feels wonderful to expand into that and own that, and it fits perfectly with. You'd be lucky to work with me, so I'm not going to fight you that we're there, Rich. I don't know what there is, but it feels amazing. God, it feels good, man. Oof. Ooh.
What will be the impact in your life, your business, in relationships, if the sentence that it's almost like if we put any cell of your body under a microscope, every single cell would have written in the middle of it the words, "You'd be lucky to work with me." What's going to be the impact of that moving forward?
It's going to be me trusting myself even more than I do. It's going to be my clients reaching their dreams and not even realizing that they're reaching them, but always building bigger ones. It's going to be the people that they affect. It's going to be a massive ripple. And it's going to be my clients not showing up saying what the woman said to you at the beginning. I don't know if what else we have to do. I don't know why we're working together, but it's going to be like, let's dig in and let's find more of who I've become since we started. Yeah, that's what I want to. That's what I see when I close my eyes around that little caption being written on all my cells.
Yeah.
And I also see this, somewhat marginalized group of our society, the ones who, going back to the royal court, were the jesters, and they were there serving such an important role. I mean, there were kings that wouldn't begin meals or meetings until the jester was there, and because it was him or her who allowed people to hear the message,
Yeah.
to feel the feelings. And this group of people is highly disregarded in our world. And what I inspire my clients as entertainers to do is to actually be who they act like they are worth it. And I see it every day, and I don't take it in enough, and I'm taking it in right now, and I feel it. I mean, I feel it that they're creating businesses that are actually sustainable instead of debt creating, where they thrive, where they mention something in a sentence in our group, and I dig in deeper and I make them dig, and 6 months later they're on a TEDx stage in Princeton, New Jersey, talking to a group, and then leading a workshop in it. That's the impact, man. It's they were lucky to be working with me. That's the impact.
Nice.
Yeah.
There was another role for court jesters too. I know you know this. They were the one person who could tell the king or the queen what nobody else would dare to say.
Yeah. 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 That's true. That's true.
And when you're a powerful coach with powerful clients, they crave that because they don't have many people in their world who are willing to say what they need to say, need to hear. They're surrounded by yes people, people who are admiring them. And a coach who's willing to challenge their thinking, is willing to say the things that need to be said, is a powerful coach.
Yeah, and I would be selling them short. I know that if I held this any other way, except you're lucky to be working with me, and now that you're here, let's dig in. Let's just let's get rid of anything that's in the way of where you need to be. So you're doing it in the world, and I feel a ripple hitting me right in the forehead right now.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. This is the 4% shift. This isn't something we can put on paper. I'm not one of those coaches. Sometimes we'll come up with a business plan or something, but most of the time it's coaching like this. The client gets the insight, and the impact's going to be huge. And we don't even have to be able to articulate it clearly. It's just a felt insight. And I feel it right now, and you feel it.
Yeah, it's is it only 4%? Shit, man, what does 96 more feel like? Yeah, that's a big 4%. It feels I feel it every single cell of my body right now.
Yeah.
Head to toe. I want to pick up the phone. I want to connect with a couple people who who need to be lucky.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool. So let's pause for a moment, and you just go to lie down again. Just let
a
yourself.
nice spot here to lie down.
And I'll come back to Norma and check in with questions. And how you doing, Norma? What's going on? Questions wise.
One of the things that has come across a lot is how people feel that you're coaching them in the process.
Yeah.
And the shifting. I know I'm feeling the shifting, and other people are saying that they're feeling the shift as well. So on behalf of all of them, myself, we want to thank you. So I have a two-part.
Let me just
Go ahead.
address that for a second, because I think it's worth addressing. I run some small groups where I'll coach a small group of people, and I love to work with a group because, in fact, even at my events where I have 150 people in a room, I am coaching on the stage, one person at a time, and I know that everyone is being coached at the same time. It's just how it works. So if ever you've held yourself back from coaching in a group, or you're not sure how do I coach a group, you don't. You coach one person at a time, and the effect is felt. It really is. So thanks for saying that, Norma.
Yes. So this is a two-part question. Do you have to be a high performer yourself in order to coach a high performer? And is it really any different from regular clients that you have? Because you're always helping them to get to their own brilliance.
There's a yes and no to both those questions. There's a paradox about everything that we do. Do you have to be a high performer to coach high performers? It helps to have insights about their world. I mean, this is one of the reasons I'm writing my book. It is for these high performers, but because I have an audience of coaches now, it's also going to be for coaches who want to coach high performance. So that I'll get clearer as this comes out, as the book gets written. So there are ways that you don't necessarily have to be. Look, you certainly have to be a high performer in the world that they're in. I'm not even a sportsman, let alone an Olympic athlete, but I didn't have to be. I've coached all sorts of people in all sorts of fields. Look, Barry went through his bio at the beginning, and I'm in awe what incredible things he's done. And I don't need to be better at what he's done and he is. He's world class. I just got extraordinarily good at coaching, at looking for what the tiny shift might be, at feeling into my body what I'm feeling, so I can be fully present with the person in front of me. That's how you get to work with high performers. You don't need to be better at what they do than they are. Just immerse yourself in your craft. Get really good at your craft, and then you can coach anybody. Do I do the same with regular clients? In the Prosperous Coach, I call it searching for the glimpse of genius. I look for the genius in everyone I work with. So everyone is a top performer. Your job is to find out where that's true for them. What might it be? What area of their life is extraordinary? And then you can coach them from that place outwards into every other area of their life.
Okay, they're loving the 4% rule. And so would you repeat and spell the name of the author and the name of the book where you get the concept?
Yeah, sure. And it's really only a tiny part of the book. It's just something I grasped onto. Stephen Kotler, Kotler, he wrote a book called The Rise of Superman. where he studied these high-performing athletes. And the premise of the 4% rule is this. So those guys are doing deadly feats, literally life or death. Surfing the world's highest waves, for example, climbing the world's highest mountains. But they want to keep pushing themselves, right? Top athletes want to get better and better. And that's great. That's what makes them elite athletes. But because it's life or death, they can't push themselves too far. And otherwise they'll literally die. To be able to perform at that level, you have to be in flow. We all know what it takes to be in flow. You're coaching someone and suddenly an hour and a half has gone by and it's like, oh my God, where did that go? You're writing an article, you're performing on a stage, time just flies and suddenly you realize, oh my God, I was just so in the moment, I didn't know what was happening. I often don't remember what is talked about in a coaching session when the coaching session is over. And I'm pretty sure that's because I'm so damn present that I don't even have the capacity for memory. And that's what it takes to perform at those high levels for these elite performers. They only need to push themselves by 4% more than their capacity in this moment is in order to build and grow and keep performing at higher and higher levels. That's what the 4% rule suggests. I was reading an interview a few years back with Reid Hoffman. He's the founder of LinkedIn, billionaire in his own right. And at the end of the interview, he said to the woman interviewing him, New York Times I think it was, he said, I'm only operating at 60% capacity. And she finishes the interview with an amusing line, which shows to me she doesn't understand the nature of being a high performer. She said, he says he's only operating at 60% capacity, so even the hyperkinetic Reid Hoffman needs a vacation. No, you don't understand the nature of what it takes to be a high performer. You always think you're only performing at 60% capacity. He thinks he's got 40% more to give. I'm not interested in that. If I was coaching Reid Hoffman, a billionaire, I wouldn't be trying to coach him on how to give 40% more. Instead of the 40%, I'd be looking for the 4%. Yeah. Where do we shift his thinking, shift his mindset, shift his vision ever so slightly? That's going to have an exponential effect. How's that, Norma?
That's perfect. This one is more for Barry again. There's a few questions that came. I'm kind of summarize them. First of all, that you're a profound listener, Barry, and it seems like you got in touch with a limiting belief that was holding you back. And the question then is, what's the big or incremental step that you've taken from this conversation toward your goal, appreciating your success and having more time with your family and yourself?
So I'm going to pause before you answer that, Barry, because I want to say something that's important to me. Notice, I didn't ask that question. And I won't ask that question. I don't need to. I get when a client is in a place of just profound transformation, it's happening literally in every cell of his body, that he doesn't have to know that right now. That he doesn't have to go to, okay, let's turn this into an action plan. One of the things about working with top performers is they're going to make stuff happen. They really are. I often say I'm not an accountability coach. If you want accountability, I'm not the person to work with. What I want to draw out of you is a mission that's so damn inspiring, nothing will stop you. So Barry, feel free to answer that question if you want, but also feel free not to answer it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, before Rich jumped in to add that piece about it, what came up for me was a bit of panic, a bit of, oh my God, what is my step? And then Rich really tightened it up. It's funny, Rich asked me if I would come on and be coached. Really the only communication we've had about this, maybe 2 weeks ago. And he said, any idea of what you'd like to be coached on? And I wrote something back right away. And I think I wrote you about an hour later that said, forget about that. I've already solved it just by writing it out to you. I pretty much solved that one just by writing it. And so, just in response to the person who asked that, I will just say, what came up, what I want to do is hold on to that you'd be lucky to work with me. I've got that written here and already printed out on a piece of paper and circled with my pen. I want to see where that lands for me. And if you ask me that question in a week, I bet you I'll have some results to tell you. But right now what came up for me is that, yeah, 2 questions. Was that only 4% shift? Because right now, I felt the sorry about that. I'm having flashbacks to when I was a kid.
That's I'm in Santa Monica. I've got a fire truck going past me.
Yeah, no problem. I was in trouble as a kid. What came up for me though was that really a 4% shift for me, or was that just? It felt so huge to me just to be able to finish talking about myself at the end when I even expanded upon my my bio, my achievements, where I muted myself at the beginning. Yeah, so I guess what and I'm going to let it sit there because honestly I don't know what the action steps are, and I'm fine with that right now. I know that this was a remarkable 2 hours or a remarkable hour conversation, so thank you.
I want to invite more questions. We have about 10 minutes left. And I want to mention to everyone that to look in the chat box because that's where you'll find the information about the implementations and mastery sessions that take place 30 minutes after this session. So there are 2 rooms that you can register to be a part of. One is being facilitated by Chris Dennis. And these questions are, why do clients pay you? What do they really want? How do you establish their real needs? How do you not need a client? Hell no versus hell yes. Let's talk about safety and a blocker. And how do you build your road to everything that you want? That's room 1. And in room 2, the choice is actually going to be having a deeper conversation with Rich. He says, I'm such a nerd. Is anyone else feeling this coaching experience? Let's talk a bit with Rich, the magic that Rich just created. What's your definition of success? Are you a top performer? Do you coach top performers? And the facilitator is Nikki Ellison, and Rich will be on that. So in your chat box, you will see the link where you can register for that. And you'll also see the link for the Facebook page if you haven't already put that link in and registered for the Facebook page. And let me see if I see any new questions. Well, they're saying superb session. They're just really thankful for your authenticity. Thank you, Barry, for authentically showing up with all of us present. You took a risk of saying out loud where you were going and helping all of us in the process. So just a lot of wows and gratefulness and brilliance and accolades for you, Rich. So on behalf of all of them and myself and WBECS, I thank you deeply for what you're sharing with us today.
Well, can I make one invitation to the people listening, if you have the ability to get comments back from them? I shared in that session something I've rarely shared, certainly never publicly and anonymously with people I don't know, the importance of that moment in my life when that guy at the summer camp taught me to juggle. And it felt so, I literally said to myself, I will never be physically abused again. I'll never be mentally abused again. Life will be different from this day forward. And that moment has shaped my life. So my question and my offer to the people listening, is there a moment in your life that maybe you haven't expanded your capacity enough to really feel what it meant to you? And is there some way you can bring that into your coaching, into your business, to help somebody see a part of themselves that they've never seen? Because I honestly believe that we've all had some experience that is defining of who we are, and at the time it may seem bad, be it the broken collarbone or when Rich got fired from his job. And maybe we've never taken the time to look at what the gift was from that. So if anyone has one of those, I tell you, I would love nothing more than to hear 1 or 2 of those. And maybe it's something you just sit with. Yeah. Important.
Thank you, Barry. I'm going to acknowledge you too. Norma will let us know if people put any of those in the chat box in the next minute or 2. Thank you for being so authentic, for being willing to play with me, for trusting me, really for trusting me, and being willing to go where we went. I really acknowledge you for that, Barry.
Thank you. What an honor to be asked and feel the safety of the container here with all these people I don't know. And you know what? At 54 and everything I've been through in my life, none of it matters anymore. There's the pretense is gone. The reputation is out there. and I'm here for that. So wonderful.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm going to put the implementation mastery information in the chat box again while you answer this question, Rich, and that's how do you deselect clients?
Great question. I have a filter. I have a filter for who I work with. I'm really clear about the kind of qualities I'm looking for in clients, and I filter. I wake up every morning and I ask myself this question: who can I serve today? And so my calendar constantly has calls on it with people I don't yet know, and I'll get on a call with somebody who wants to speak to me, and I'll take them deep into a coaching session. And it looks like I'm constantly giving. And there's some truth to that. I think if you really come from this place of giving, it comes back to you. But I filter too. I filter because I ask some questions before. These days, I'm in a position to be able to actually ask questions before people even show up to a call. So I get a sense of if I can really serve somebody or if I should refer them on. But once we get into a coaching conversation, at the end of 2 hours, somebody will say, look, I'm so grateful. I didn't even know you. You've just coached me for 2 hours. Thank you so much for your time. And I surprise them because I say, well, you know, to be honest, I was interviewing you. This is what I do. I love to coach, and I appreciate the insights you've had, but I'm interviewing you. I want to see if you're the kind of person I want to spend time with. So I've got some really clear criteria about who I love to work with. I like to work with top performers. I like to work with people with a track record of success, people who have a bias for action. I like to work with people who are fun and bring a sense of fun, people who are willing to play, people who are willing to be open to new possibilities. These are some of the criteria I have, and I filter for them, and I get a sense of that in a conversation, sometimes even before a conversation, because I'll have some questions I might even back and forth on an email first. But your willingness to say no to anyone who's not a 10 out of 10, your willingness to say no to a 9.9 is what's going to bring you your 10 clients. And that's very edgy. And earlier on in your coaching career, you might say yes to people who are not a 10. I get that. I've been there too. But the sooner you can the sooner you get to that place of being willing to say no to the 9.9s, the 10s will show up. That's how I do that normally.
Okay, I want to read out the website for the implementation session because some people say they can't find it. So it is www.wbecs.com/a5678. It's www.wbecs.com/a5678. And you want to mention anything else, Rich? I do have one other question I'll share with you, and that's someone saying that they've been frustrated by a formula required by a certifying coaching group. Can you address that?
How do I address this one? Look, most of the best coaches I know were not certified. I'm not certified as a coach myself. And that doesn't mean we're not constantly learning. I wrote an article a couple of years ago about mastery, and I called it How to Become an Overnight Success as a Coach in 46 Years. And people read it and they emailed me back and said, wow, Rich, you've done so many different trainings and workshops, and you've had so many different coaches over the years. And it dawned on me as I got that feedback, wow, I haven't even put down the trainings I did that were not good, that I didn't get value from, the books that I've read, the videos that I've watched. I wouldn't be attached to what your coach training school says you should do. There might be some great wisdom there. It's your ability to filter for what works for you, because you've got to be a coach who's true to yourself and true for what works for you. So that's all I can say politely right now. There's lots of people who are great coaches, work at coaching schools, and sometimes some of those coaches are there because they're not professional coaches. They don't have coaching clients out in the world, and so you've got to find what works for you. That's the politest way I can say it, Norman.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for your valuable information, and I'm telling you, the amount of comments and accolades for you are just phenomenal, and everyone, I'm sure, has raised up to that 4%, and if not yet, they will be. your information has helped so many of us on the call to be better coaches and to look at our own selves with less humility and to be able to share so that people know that they're great to have us as a coach. So thank you so much.
Norma, thank you so much. Barry, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see some of you in the chat room in a few minutes.
Yes, 30 minutes, and I gave you the website. I'll give it to you one more time just in case you didn't get a chance to write it down or don't see it in the chat room. That's www.wbecs.com/A5678. So thank you, and we will see those of you on the full session at the next session. And take the information well and use it well and keep growing as a coach, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Barry.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Norma.
Thanks, Rich. You're welcome.